I do want to mention we do have the Tony Khan interview up on the site today that Brandon Thurston and I conducted earlier this week. Up until tonight's video with CM Punk, like we got the most out of him just in terms of, a promo segment, which I think everyone expected, but it was clarification. You're getting that promo. And I guess that's sort of where I land in this, is that I can understand, like, he has been consistent about his unwillingness to speak about the Punk incident and All Out at all. At the same time, when you are then airing this video and the whole selling feature is, I've got a lot of things on my mind, it's like, to me, it's you are trying to benefit off of it while at the same time completely ignoring it. And like, let's remember that in the first television match that the Elite came back to in Chicago, they're doing CM Punk mockery spots. They're right down to the biting of the arm deal. So, I mean, it's hard. It seems that, though, we will not talk about this under any circumstances except on screen when our key players can benefit from it.
Sure. Yeah.
And the appeal of this first show on Saturday, I mean, that's a big reason why a promo with CM Punk is so interesting and is probably going to draw a very healthy number on Saturday.
Yeah. I wonder if there's maybe within Tony's mind, like a distinction between like what he says in an interview versus what he presents on screen in sort of like a storyline context. Perhaps he's of the opinion that like when it's on screen for the purposes of entertainment, well, then it's fair game. But he, like, legal reasons kind of being the sort of default excuse. I guess I don't know how that necessarily plays.
There's obviously those screen concerns. And listen, like, my philosophy has always been that whenever you are with a subject, it is not their job to answer your questions. You hope that they do, but on the other side of the coin, it is mine to ask them. So I can only ask as much as possible. And Tony Khan has been pretty consistent when it comes to this, but I still think the question should be asked. And there's many other questions that you can ask as it relates to that. And I just feel that as we go into this, it's such a big topic. And I don't know if they're completely aware that it's the big topic at hand, or if they
have to be aware, dude. I mean, again, the Punk promo this week essentially kind of insinuated that he would directly address it.
Well, I would argue it is so big that to not address it and to not have any game plan to eventually go in that direction, like, is that creating that friction with your audience that they are going to be demanding that? Or are we making it bigger than it is? That this audience is going to accept Punk coming back. They're going to be separate on the brands, and it will be. It's hard to imagine that there is still not going to be this cloud as Punk returns and continues to shine a light on this, and inevitably he is going to be asked about this. And is he going to be as disciplined about not answering anything about it?
So I would say if come Saturday, like, Punk dances around the situation and doesn't really say much about it, I think that would be cause for complaint. That would be cause to me for false advertising, and addressing it could simply be like, like a couple lines here and there saying like, hey, this thing happened. Like, like he just has to at least acknowledge its existence. And I think that would maybe be satisfying enough.
Like, what is the scene if he comes out and he's seated in the ring and the crowd, of course, they're going insane. And then it turns into an F the Elite chant throughout the arena.
Then you let it play out.
What does letting it play out mean? Like, what does Punk say at that point?
What should he say? Like, listen, I know in Tony Khan's mind, I'm sure, like, for his dreams, this ultimately ends up in a big match that you could sell, a series of matches that you could sell. Yeah.
This is the kind of angle that would, like, light this new show on fire. It would take the company into such a, like, it is the big angle that you could do that could certainly elevate this company, at the very least, get Collision off to this dynamic start. It's the biggest story. And if they are just keeping this very quiet and they believe that they are going to get to that, great. But I don't think too many people believe that's the case. And how much are you going to be fighting against the tide if you have all these players here, your audience is tied to this story? That's what time is going to tell us in 3 months, like, what the status of this is.
Well, there are a lot of variables. I think we before we could even entertain that idea, right? We have to settle the Elite's contract statuses. Punk, whether or not, like, how will he function on the road, like in this sort of setting, on a week-to-week basis. I think that's enough to create a little bit of cause for concern before you can even talk about a year from now what match or what program might you book between the two sides. But I think things are on track for that being the ultimate destination later on. I mean, I have to think that everybody involved here will be able to put differences enough aside for the betterment of the company, for the betterment of their own pocketbooks, really. But this is kind of like day one of that very long path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they've created a lot of buzz for this first show. I thought that video was spectacular tonight with CM Punk. To me, I watched that video and I see them moving a lot of tickets for the United Center. Not crazy, but I think that we were talking the other night about hitting 10,000. I feel that's a very realistic marker to expect. That was a great video for Punk, and they are like, the promo is the main event as much as they're billing the 6-man tag is. The promo is the main event, and probably would start the show unless they strategically have a different reason for it being later in the show. But you would think that that's going to be the hot thing to grip everyone off the top and get a solid first quarter and hopefully keep people for the main event with the 6 of them.
I mean, looking at this card, yes, I think like Miro is, returning is a decently attractive thing. Andrade returning is a decently attractive thing, but this show is really just being sold on one thing, and that's, well, 2 things: CM Punk's speech and also CM Punk wrestling. I'm trying to think about like how they might pair it. Logic would tell you they start off with the Punk promo and then end the show with him to bookend that way. But is there another way to play it that might be just as beneficial? Could he talk right before he wrestles in the main event? Probably not. I'm probably willing to bet that they'll do that. But yeah, I think tonight was really good. Like, the video package, not only did it give you fresh footage of CM Punk for the first time in months, you got to see him training, you got to see him talk and cut a brand new promo. And you got the promise that he will talk in addition to wrestling, plus he will be talking about things that have been really bothering him, things he has to get off his chest, which, one can only assume is everything to do with the fallout from Brawl Out and the incident itself. So that is more than enough, I think, to create a big deal of anticipation for this first show.
So we'll go a bit backwards here, but the lineup for Collision is the 6-man tag with the Punk promo. Miro will be in action, coming back after like a year. Wardlow against Luchasaurus for the TNT title. Tony Storm and Ruby Soho against Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. And Andrade El Idolo making his return, taking on Buddy Matthews. So that is 5 matches announced so far. And the promo with CM Punk.
But no Elite on the show.
Nope. No Elite on this show. Yeah,
like, I mean, I'll be interested to see like how separate. Tony Khan has like not made any concrete plans about any sort of like firm roster split, and obviously people like Sky Blue are going to be across both shows at least at this time. But beyond that, who will be excluded? Who will be kind of kept off these shows? Not that 1 week is that much indication, but it would at least start us to give us a little bit of information to be able to decide.
And you have Dynamite in Chicago next Wednesday as well.
Yeah. And does Punk appear in that one?
Certainly no hints towards that. And you'll know 100% by Saturday, because I would say you would want to make that clear either way. Because I would never want to leave it as you're a fan going to Dynamite in Chicago and you're naturally assuming Punk is there now that he's back. Like, that's a natural assumption I think the average fan would make. And I think you would want to make that clear on Saturday if he's not going to be there or if he is going to be there. And it's kind of tricky to, like, how do you alert people, hey, I'm not going to be there on Wednesday? But your fan base is going to expect that on Wednesday. I would think at least a healthy percentage of them would be, whether he's announced
perhaps
or not.
I think disappointment is not always the worst thing when you have enough like other things to leave people satisfied. And a go home show before Forbidden Door, we can expect a lot of surprises.
It's that time of the show where we tell you about the Post Wrestling Cafe, the best place to drop your $6 every month for bonus content.
It's a busy week this week. We've got the double shot with our Dark Side of the Ring review. We've got Rewind Away on Thursday, Rewind a SmackDown on Friday, and on Saturday, a brand new show.
It's the launch of our new weekly AEW Collision review with 2 hosts that will be joining me. Go to postwrestlingcafe.com and video.postwrestling.com to subscribe.